Today's video is going to be about the top 10 sets in 2019 in my opinion, both from just the quality of the set and like importance in terms of rivalries and storylines in Smash Bros. Ultimate. So I will just get into it. I am going to have 3 honorable mentions that I will mention at the end of the video just so you are aware. And of course, this is all like subjective. It's not necessarily like this isn't a definitive list, but I just really liked all these sets and going through them. It was very hard to narrow it down to 10, which is why I have 3 honorable mention. But let us get started with number 10, and that is going to be Ally versus Mars, Losers Finals at CEO. So not only was the gameplay good, but I guess the story of CEO was in the balance. You know, Ally knocked Mars into Losers Bracket, into me, thanks for that, Ally, I appreciate it. And then just Mars had this crazy Losers run and beat so many people, including Nairo, Puppet, and it just was an incredible set. Mars wins game 1, Ally wins the next 2. Game 4, Mars had to make a crazy comeback, and game 5 was just incredibly close, with arguably the best Smash Ultimate pop-off thus far from Mars. He has such good pop-offs in general, which, by the way, if you want me to make a pop-off tier list, I will arguably do that too, or I might do that. Just let me know if you want me to do that in the comments, but just this set was absolutely amazing. I mean, Mars generally beats all the Snake players, so it was a shock that Ally beat him in winners in the first place, but Mars said, no, I'm getting my run back versus Leo, which didn't matter because Leo is the GOAT, but you know, it was still a really good set. Next up, in my opinion, is going to be me versus Tweek. Of course I'm going to have a set of me on here. Come on, you know me better than that. But, you know, Tweek at the beginning of the game, pre-Genesis, was clearly considered one of the best players in the game. He won Glitch. He just had a bunch of strong tri-state showings. He was the #1 seed at Genesis, but I was able to defeat him. That set was crazy back and forth. I won game 1 fairly convincingly. Game 2, he like 3-stocked me on Kalos. Game 3, he won. Game 4, he missed a waft and allowed me to get a crazy comeback with basically a perfect last stock. And then game 5, once again, he had the lead, but it was a really passive but still really impressive game from both of us. Like, we both just didn't really overcommit too hard, had some crazy confirms, he got some really early kills, and then I had a really clutch edge guard. So it kind of just, you know, for historical implications, shook up the scene, because at the time, people thought Tweek was the #1 player, the player to beat over Leo at the time, because again, this was the beginning of the tournament, and me beating him kind of shook that up, because people had a lot of faith in me at the beginning of the game, especially after my Don't Bark on the Grass performance. But Tweek losing before top 8, before even winners quarters, was like an, oh god, this game is going to be really difficult to stay consistent at, which it is, except for the very top players. But I just think this set kind of had a little bit more implication than just me showing that I'm a top player, because I am. But Tweek losing that early and then eventually not even getting top 8 kind of showed that this game is going to be rough for everyone. Number 8 is going to be Zackray versus DeBuzz, because this tournament didn't have Leo in it, which was pretty important, because Leo versus insert player is kind of going to be the majority of this list moving forward. But Zackray had this crazy run. He obviously got top 8 winners. You know, Zackray was the strongest player from Japan basically in the majority of the time, but he did slump when he came to America other than Genesis. He had a subpar performance at Summit, he had a subpar performance at Frostbite, he had a subpar performance at Mainstage, so people weren't sure if Zackray could perform on an American stage. But at Big House, you know, he makes winner semis, top 8, loses to Meister 3-0, has to go through Tweek, he already beaten winners bracket, had to go through Nairo in a crazy game 5 set, and I almost put that one here, had to then beat Meister in a reverse 3-0 after getting knocked into losers by Meister, and with more convincing games as the set went on, and then of course had to play DeBuzz. DeBuzz still looking for his first major, one of the best players in the world, one of the most consistent players in the world still to this day, but Zackray was able to close it out with 2 different characters, able to take on Olimar with Wolf and then Rosalina with Rob. Again, Zackray the counter pick king, and we've known that for a very long time. He's picked up so many characters and performed at high level with them, but Zackray winning, I feel like, kind of solidified in a lot of people's minds. I know a lot of people have a lot of faith in Japan for various reasons, but this was just showing that, hey, Zackray can win an American major, can beat the best American players, beat the best North American players, as he's also gone very close with Leo several times. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm biased because Zackray is one of my favorite players in the game. Like, it's literally myself, Mars, and Zackray are my top 3 favorite players, so I was really happy to see him win. I mean, I cried when he won. I was down there looking for him, just wanted to hug him. He was just so happy. I love that kid. I'm so happy that he kind of did, like, like proved to himself that he can do well on American soil, and then kind of didn't do that great at Congo Saga. But you know, that's gonna happen sometimes. Not everyone can perform well all the time. It's very difficult, but I was just so happy for him. And now, with that out of the way, let's get into the Leo show. As you can probably imagine, the #1 player in the world is going to have a lot of implication for storylines, and of course just going to have the best sets. So from this point, almost every single set does include Leo because of the importance of storyline. First off, going to be Leo versus Nairo. This, of course, was at Mainstage, and Nairo did defeat him in grand finals. I think Leo won the first set 3-0 very convincingly, and then Nairo lost game 1 and then had 3 straight victories against him. Very convincing victories for the most part, actually. Nairo, again, has always been a threat in this game. He's got multiple top 8s, but of course this was his first major win, and that's really important for a player like Nairo, for a content creator like Nairo, and his play was absolutely immaculate because, of course, getting 4th and 5th and 3rd at majors is one thing, but winning a major over people like Light and Samsora and so many different players were at Mainstage, and yet he was able to be victorious over all of them, especially over Mars, who he has had trouble with in the past. So this, I don't know, like this set was crazy to me because it kind of proved, hey, Nairo's like top 5. Like Nairo is an amazing player, one of the best players in the world, and of course everyone loves Nairo, everyone loves watching him play, even though there is so much general hate for Palutena, which is kind of crazy that he's able to overcome that because he's just so popular. But Nairo just, again, doing amazing, and again, the Leo push of that storyline is going to be incredibly impactful, so I do think that is one of the most important sets of Smash Ultimate this far. Number 6 is going to be Leo versus Samsora at Shine. Obviously they had played many times before this, with Leo basically being Samsora's demon, although we saw a little bit of a glimmer of hope when Samsora beat Leo at Winter Semis at Super Smash Con, but of course Leo was able to bring that back in Grand Finals and end up winning the tournament. But Shine, again, Samsora beat him in Winners, and we thought this was going to be the same old song and dance. You know, Leo had gone into losers multiple times this month, whether it was Kamame at EVO, whether it was against Samsora at SmashCon, and now at Shine, people were like, okay, he's in losers, he's still gonna win the tournament because it's Leo, and this is just gonna happen like it always does. And of course, Leo did reset him in set 1, so everyone was like, oh, okay, yeah, Leo's just gonna win. He's gonna do the thing like he's been doing, especially at EVO as well, and it's just gonna happen. But Samsora said no, and again, Samsora up to that point had had an amazing season, beating both Tweek and Leo at SmashCon, getting top 8, I think top 4 at EVO. He was doing fantastic, top 8 at Low Tier City as well, but this set, him beating Leo out of a tournament for the first time in Smash Ultimate, kind of just solidified Samsora as a super top level threat. I mean, people are basically saying that Samsora is top 2 this season because of that, and then of course his performances the rest of the year were of course very good. Not limited to, but including Big House, Ultimate Summit 2, and Congo Saga, where he got top 8 at all of them, and you know, DreamHack Atlanta, he got 2nd, so he's been doing amazing this season, absolutely fantastic player, but beating Leo, the guy who had given him so much trouble, so many beatdowns, especially from like Smash and Splash, and even earlier than that at, you know, Genesis, like Leo beat him in losers finals, I'm pretty sure it was. So Leo had been a thorn in Samsora's side basically for forever, and finally getting this win was incredibly gratifying for Samsora. And then of course Leo did get his revenge later in the season, knocking him out at Ultimate Summit 2 to be the victor there, but Samsora is still considered one of the strongest players due to his results, and of course being one of the first people to knock Leo out of a tournament. I think the first person to knock Leo out of a tournament on American soil in season 2 of the PGR. You know, I think Mars did it at Smash Factor earlier, and then of course before that, the person that knocked him out of a tournament was me at Gommel in May. So Leo doesn't really lose tournaments. He loses in winner's bracket somewhat frequently, but he doesn't get knocked out of tournaments very frequently. So Leo Samsora was going to be huge for that kind of swing, that storyline, and of course put Samsora on a pedestal, and he is still riding that to this day, and I mean, he deserves it. He's been doing amazing. And the last couple of sets had been pretty negative for Leo, but this one is going to be positive. At number 5, we are going to have Leo versus Void at Genesis. Again, Leo had been knocked into losers earlier by Samsora and then made a crazy losers run, but Void was looking so dominant this whole tournament, beating Zackray, beating Samsora, beating myself, beating Shuton. He had an incredibly dominant run up until this point, and at the beginning of Grand Finals, it looked like it was going to continue this way. You know, Game 3, the set count was was 1-1 and Void went up 3 stocks to 1, and of course the shield breaker heard around the world secured Leo's third game to put him up 2-1, and at that point it felt like he had all the momentum in the world. Who cleans out that set 3-1, and then 3-1's Void in set 2. Absolutely immaculate play. I mean, at that point Leo was an Ike main for the majority of players and only went Lucina in a couple matchups, and Void happened to be one of them, and it proved very successful. And I remember talking to Leo earlier in that tournament. I don't remember if I've told YouTube this story before, but I was talking to him and I saw him going Ike a lot of the tournament, and I had spoken to him previously and I was like, you know that Ike is worse than Lucina. Why are you continuing to go Ike? You know, I don't understand. And I asked him that at Genesis as well. I'm like, it's Genesis. Why are you not going your best character that you know is your best character? And he's like, oh, because I don't have to, and when I go Lucina, I'll know I have to, and I will win with her, and it's going to be fine. And you know, I kind of like made fun of him a little bit backstage top 8 when he lost to Samsora as Ike, but then of course went Lucina versus Light in loser semis, which you know, he went Lucina twice that tournament, which was against Light in losers quarterfinals to knock him out of the tournament and then thereby qualify for Summit, and then went Ike versus everyone else until the grand finals against Void, and the Lucina paid off. Again, that shield breaker is pivotal for that. I mean, I definitely thought that Void was going to win his first major, at least go up 2-1 and have incredible momentum going into the rest of the set, but Leo neutralized it, showed that clutch factor which he is known for in Smash Ultimate, of course some of that being Arsene, but he's just crazy clutch, and it showed right there, and then kind of solidified him as a dominant number 1, at least for the moment. At number 4, we are going to break up the Leo monotony for just a little bit and go into Zackray versus Shuton at Prime Saga. This set was fantastic. It was the first Japan versus Japan finals we had in America, with several good players being at that tournament. I mean, if you look at the results, the other members were 7th place Tweek and Leo, 5th place T and Ally, 4th place Nairo, 3rd place Light. So it was an incredibly stacked tournament, and Zackray and Shuton were on the end of it. And of course, Zackray starting in Winterside Grand Finals, this was what I thought was going to be Zackray's kind of magnum opus, or like his just first breakout tournament win in America, because of course he was still dominating Japan, I'm pretty sure, at the time, but Shuton said, no, this is my tournament to win. You know, they did meet in winners finals and Zackray 3-0'd him, which is why I was fairly confident that Zackray was just going to win. But again, Shuton said no, comes into grand finals after beating Light 3-1 and just 3-0's Zackray really hard, and it was incredibly surprising. And then Zackray actually in grand finals set 2 went Lucina, and although he got a game, it did not prove worth it. But again, Shuton was always kind of in Zackray's shadow, at least compared to Japan, and of course sometimes there was the debate of who's better of the Olimars, because at the time it was pre-patch, right? You know, Dabuz, Myron, and Shuton were all in that mix, but of course this kind of broke Shuton away from the pack just a little bit, because Myron never won a major, although he did get second at Pound like the month afterwards, and of course Dabuz yet to win a big major, but Shuton was able to take it. And again, this was kind of proof of like, hey, America / North America, you have to keep up your like wits, because Japan is here with a vengeance. We don't come out that often, although T of course did get top 8 at this tournament as well and was in winner semis, beating Tweek that tournament. So it was kind of like the general tournament was like, oh, okay, Japan's here to play. And because a lot of people were doubting them, besides let's say Zackray, because he was the only one to get top 8 at Genesis, but this final one proved Shuton was amazing and arguably at the time the best Olimar. And then of course he did end up being the highest ranked Olimar that season of the PGR in top 5, which is crazy. But of course that Zackray was still there to play very consistent after that Frostbite dip, because he got like 49th there, I'm pretty sure, losing to Mute Ace and ZD, but he was there with a vengeance. And of course Shuton was saying, hey, I am the Olimar here, I am the alpha, so do not forget about it. And the top 3 sets of the year are all going to be the same 2 players, the main rivalry in Smash Ultimate throughout the year, mostly because of their last encounter, and that is going to be Tweek versus Leo. I think the 3rd best set of the year was Frostbite, because it was Tweek's resurgence, because again, as I mentioned with me talking about me versus him at Genesis, Tweek was looking like the underdog at that point, you know, had a really close set with Cosmos in winter semis, did pretty well throughout the rest of the tournament, obviously, and then convincingly beat Leo. And of course, both the winners finals and the grand finals are going to be counted here, because it's just incredible how Tweek was able to reverse 3-0 Leo. Of course, the DK pick not working game 1, game 2 gonna lose in Wario versus Ike. And then games 3 and 4 winning Wario versus Ike, in game 5 Leo switching to the Lucina, but Tweek was still able to clutch it and win that 3-0, reverse 3-0ing Leo. I think that's one of the only times that has ever happened in the history of the game. I know I was close at Shine, but Tweek was able to clutch it out and then had an incredibly convincing grand finals of 3-0 to kind of shut up the naysayers and be like, no, I'm up here. I may not be number 1 uncontested, but I am in the conversation, and do not forget about it. So that was an incredible set from Tweek, just proving that his Wario was absolutely fantastic. In my opinion, has always been his best character. It has seemed like the character that fits him the most, so I'm glad at the end of the year he's coming back from it. And speaking of the end of the year, we can go into the second best set of the year, which is going to be Leo versus Tweek at Congo Saga. I'm so happy that they were in grand finals, because the storyline was slipping away from Tweek a little bit, because it was mostly like Samsora versus Leo, or even Nairo versus Leo, or Nairo versus Samsora. But Leo versus Tweek in grand finals and winners finals, of course, at Congo Saga, both sets were absolutely fantastic. Leo winning both of them 3-2 with Joker, of course, because Joker wasn't out at Frostbite, but he just played so well, kind of re-solidified himself as the best player in the world after beating basically everyone recently. I mean, there's no contest, right? Like, he is the best. But Tweek, of course, shutting up a lot of people, because people are like, oh, Tweek dropped off, he's not doing that great, you know, Evo broke his confidence, but that is not true. Tweek is doing incredibly well, just again getting top 2 at Congo Saga, the last S tier of the year. And of course, their set was absolutely crazy. Also, Tweek's set with Gluto before this was absolutely insane. Played so well this tournament, but Leo says, no, I'm the best player for a reason, and I will prove it to you here. Wins that incredibly clean Joker play, just a really good storyline set to kind of re-solidify the fact that Leo versus Tweek is the rivalry in Smash Ultimate. And of course, that is outlined by none other than the #1 set, Leo versus Tweek at EVO 2019, because if you think about this rivalry, you think Leo versus Tweek, you think of EVO. Tweek had everything going for him, beat Gluto in winners finals, was there in grands. Winners side, Leo having the crazy losers run because he dropped to Kamame earlier in the tournament, had an amazing run in top 8, and of course, Tweek up 2-0 in set 1 of grand finals, so it was something that everything pointed for him being the EVO champion. And then of course, this is where the clutch factor of Leo comes in. Barely wins game 3, game 4 is down 3 stocks to 1. This is why there is the legend of game 4 Leo. He was able to just barely bring it back, get the craziest comeback that I've seen in Smash Ultimate thus far, especially with relatively little cheese as far as I remember. Like, I don't remember seeing anything ridiculous, just incredibly clean play by Leo. Of course, after losing that game 4, Tweek was a little shook. Leo won game 5 and then 3-0'd Tweek convincingly in set 2 again. Leo at this point was re-solidifying himself as the #1 player after Season 1 ended, because realistically this was the first major of Season 1. I mean, Smash Factor was pretty big and Mars had won that, so Leo actually lost his first tournament of Season 1 and went into losers very early at EVO, but he says, no, I am the best player, I am the #1 player. Tweek, you had a good run, you've been doing well with your Pokemon trainer, but it's Joker time. And honestly, that set was just so incredible. But honestly, I was watching it, I was at dinner with Dragon Ball Fighters players and some PG players, and I saw Leo win game 4. My phone was like dying and I was trying to preserve battery, so I turned the stream off and I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure Leo won, because obviously Tweek is known to have somewhat of a fragile mindset in sets, although that's getting a little bit better as of late. But Tweek, of course, if he got mind crushed at that type of area, at that type of prestigious event, that level of pressure on Tweek must have been enormous, and Leo was like, oh, this is business as usual, just kind of size it off, and then continues to play, and of course won that. And that is, in my opinion, the #1 set, the #1 rivalry of Smash Bros. Ultimate. I hope you enjoy the list, but of course, we do have some honorable mentions here, and I just kind of want to rattle them off really quick. First off, the aforementioned Kamame versus Leo, because again, there is always this Japan versus North America type of rivalry, and Kamame being the player that won the Umebura Japan Major, the only S tier in Japan thus far, he was able to beat Leo incredibly clean. It kind of made people wonder, is Mega Man really good versus Joker, because it's a matchup we haven't really seen that much. You know, I think Mars then ended up beating Leo later at Mainstage and winner's side with the Mega Man, so it's kind of just like a matchup people had to pay attention to. And of course, Kamame not really traveled that much to America this year, but he did and was able to win against the best player in the world, so it's like, hey, by the way, I'm still here, like, I'm still really good. Of course, Kamame a couple years back had the amazing EVO run, beating Zero in losers finals until getting top 2, so he is an amazing player, obviously, but it kind of re-put him on the map. Next up, probably my second favorite rivalry of the entire game is going to be Samsora versus Nairo. They just have incredibly entertaining and very back and forth sets. They've been going sometimes secondaries game 1 of a lot of their sets, namely Nairo mostly going like heavies like Ganon Ganon or DK game 1s and then ends up winning the set anyway somehow. I'm pretty sure his set record is way over Samsora's overall, but Samsora did take it at Summit, so it was just really interesting just seeing them play. Of course, their dynamic, their trash talk, it's just really fun to watch, and I do confidently say that this is the second best rivalry of Smash Ultimate. And of course, the last honorable mention is going to be Mars versus Cosmos, winner semis of Full Bloom. This didn't really have a lot of story implications or storylines or anything like that, but it was like right after Mars got picked up by PG. Cosmos, of course, at the time was PG, and that set was just absolutely incredible. The last game just kind of showed how clutch Mars was going to be for the rest of the season, because of course he had his win at whatever tournament that was in New Jersey or New York. I think it was a collision right before he got picked up by PG. So, but like people saw them and was like, oh, Mars is really good. He beat Nairo and Light. But of course, people can have one-off tournaments, but this tournament, Full Bloom, was where he kind of proved that he was an amazingly good top player, because he was able to beat Cosmos in winner semis, which is the one that I'm talking about. Was able to beat Meister in winners finals, and I'm sorry that there were no Meister sets on here. It's just I didn't really feel like any of them were incredibly impactful. Just his general rise was really good, but I don't think that really solidified to a set. But anyway, back to Mars Cosmos. That set was able to prove that he was going to be able to do this consistently, because Cosmos, of course, at the time, doing incredibly well, very clearly like a top 10 player at that moment, and Mars was like, no, I'm here, even though I was slumping at the beginning of the year, because like he did like subpar at Genesis, didn't do great at Frostbite, but that set was incredible. Literally doesn't get hit for the last 40 seconds or so of the game. At just the last moment when Cosmos is up so much, he was up 2 stocks to 1, I think got him to like 90 or 100% before he died, and Mars was able to clutch it out. And then of course we've seen clutch performances from Mars, as I mentioned earlier, against Ally at CEO, or against Ally several times. You know, he had his clutch moments against like the Buzz at Pound, and Nairo, I'm pretty sure at Pound. Nairo, just he had a pretty solid winning record, or has a pretty solid winning record against Nairo overall. But this guy, just Mars Cosmos, kind of put into perspective of, hey, Mars is on the rise, he's going to be a top player. But honestly, this set, again, probably less story implication, just a damn good set. I would highly recommend checking it out. I'm going to link all the sets down in the description below if you want to get checked up on some history. And yeah, that is going to be about it for this one. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, social media, Panda and Partner stuff is down below. Let me know if you think I missed any sets, because there are so many, it's very hard to keep track of, but I did try to get it into 10, and a lot of sets were considered for this. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be about it, and I will see you all next time.